And let's go ahead and turn our attention to Donald Moore. Got lucky. Donald Moore comes up and joins us here in the pregame. And Donald, good opportunity to get you in here to talk about what happened last night. They honored you last night. A lot of things going on over the course of your career here. Thank you again for coming in.
Sure.
And talk about what all this means. It's hard to soak it all in, I would think.
Oh, it is. It's overwhelming, and it's been a long time, 22 years.
That went by pretty quick in some ways, though.
It does. I think when you love what you do, it does go by quick.
Talk about last night. The mayor comes out. They had that proclamation for you. I think the longleaf pine citation also got that as well. And just so many things. You had Mayor Nancy Vaughn. There was also Zach Matheny was there. Another gentleman who I did not recognize. He also was there for you. Little Donald was there. Allison was there. Just had a good group of people surrounding you last night.
Well, it was, and it was a lot of effort and a lot of planning went into that. I know from everyone involved, and it was very much appreciated, very humbling, and sometimes you think people don't appreciate what you do, but more times than not, you're wrong. And it was quite a send-off and something I'll never forget.
I wish you could have heard the pregame interview today. I had the pregame interview with Robbie Hammock. He said a lot of those same things, just being around here this season, what it meant to him, meant to the players. And I told him, even the players, when you came off the field, the players were giving you hugs and they were giving you handshakes and high fives. Even all this year's current team, they were kind of absorbed in what happened last night, too.
Yeah, these guys are kind of like, I used to say they're kind of like my kids. Now they're more like my grandkids, I guess, but just because I've gotten so old. But, you get to know these guys, and, they're away from home. Sometimes, in some cases, they're 19, 20 years old. And, I've always felt it was my obligation to make sure that they're comfortable here, they have what they need, and they know that someone on the front office is, looking out for them and cares about them.
It's interesting from season to season over the years, going back to when you first got started at the old stadium, the transition from year to year is always different, and it seems like it's always gone very smooth. A lot of changes. I mean, you had the pandemic that one year. You had the opening of the new stadium downtown. So many different things over the years. Nothing was ever the same, and the transition always seemed to go smooth.
Well, we tried, and I think, and I've said this countless times, but I've been very fortunate that I surrounded myself with some really good people, and I'm very lucky. And we've always had high expectations, and want to make sure that we can provide the best possible family entertainment we can, and I think we've succeeded at that.
I'm not trying to use too much vocabulary here, but I remember in stark and dark contrast, tonight's game as compared to the last game at the old stadium at Sunday night back in August 2004, I think it was, and that was a dark evening, foggy, cloudy, but had about 30 people throughout the first pitch. To me, that really stands out in my mind as a major memory of what happened with baseball here in this town at the old stadium. Close it out like you did that time.
Well, I'll never forget that, and you may remember, but that game, every member of our ownership group that was there got to throw out a first pitch, and like you said, it was a lot of them. But I also coached first base that night. I was in uniform.
Unbelievable! I don't remember that part. I know. Saw you thought the first pitch last night, the old left-hander, because Ray Crawford still talks about you being a left-handed pitcher back in the day. He always remembers that. But that you bring up that coaching first base. That's also a fun thing.
It was. But so tonight, the last game here, I said, I have never delivered the lineup card to home plate and been to the plate meeting. So you probably saw me and Zeb Vance were out there.
I saw Zeb.
Delivering the lineup card, and, just something else to another memory.
Yeah, a lot of memories going through that. And you go back to that last night, all the activities going on there. And that last game at the old stadium, I remember correctly, Jose Vargas pitched the last game at the old stadium, plus pitched the first game at this stadium, which is kind of interesting, too, how that worked out.
Yeah, Jason Vargas.
Jason, I knew it sold to Jay.
Yeah, Jason Vargas. I pleaded with Jim Fleming, who was then the director of player development with the Marlins, to send Jason back. Jason was drafted that year out of LSU, I believe, and a heck of a left-handed pitcher. He actually is probably one of the few players that I've ever been aware of. He started 2005 in low A, and he ended the season in the major leagues.
So went all the way through the system.
How about that?
I've heard it happen once in a blue moon.
Yeah, but he had a good major league career, and I asked Jim if he'd send him here. I think he went like 4-0 in the month of April, and it was clear he was well above this level. And like I say, he just kept climbing and climbing the rest of the year.
Well, I was talking next door to some of my memories of the years, talking to Stuart Barefoot, PA man, before the game. I said, I remember last year, on this same night last year, on Sunday night, that's when Justin Mice had a perfect game going through about 8 innings, a perfect game, and people were not really recognizing what was going on. The festivities last home game, everybody enjoying that, but man, I'm saying, good Lord, we've got some real baseball in the last game of the year.
Right. I remember that as well. And the last game, if you recall the last game at Memorial in 2004, Xavier Arroyo.
Oh, yeah, remember that name.
Hit a walk-off home run. I think we won in, now I can't recall. It's either, I don't know if it was in regulation or maybe in the 10th inning, but we won that last game there and moved over here, and it's just been an incredible run, incredible amount of success and hard work, and been a great run. Enjoyed it.
A couple of walks begin the game. Derek Diamond on the mound for the Hoppers, walking Ozuna and also walking Colley. And what about Mike Stanton? That comes back to my mind, too. 2008 Sunday night, last game on a Sunday night. We actually played Monday games back then and closed out Liberty Monday. But you got Giancarlo now, Mike Stanton back then, homer number 39 that night to right field. That was something.
It was unbelievable. A lot of people don't remember, but, this is clearly a hitter's park. The ball flies well here, and as you just said, he had 39 home runs, but 20 of those were on the road. So it wasn't like he hit 35 of them here and 4 on the road. He hit some bombs.
He really got hot in the second half that year.
Yes, he
Huge
did.
Second half.
Yes, he did. And he was only 18 years old when he was here. He turned 19 right after the season was over. But an incredible talent. There's been a lot of incredible talent come through here.
Yeah, what about 2011, before I forget to ask about that? I mean, you going back, you got Mark Cannon at first base, Noah Perry at second base. You got Danny Black at shortstop, Ron Fisher at third. You got JT Realmuto behind the plate. You got Isaac Galloway in outfield. You got Christian Illich. You got Marcell Ozuna. Whew, man, that's a lot of talent right there.
Well, it is. And I went back and looked, and that team had something like 10 or 11 future big leaguers on it. We had Grant Dayton coming out of the bullpen, and a couple other arms in the bullpen that made it to the big leagues. So it was the thing I remember about that team the most was
fly ball toward right field and going to get away. 1 run coming in, and the Crawdads lead early, but I want Donald to keep going because that was a heck of a year. Andy Haynes did a great job of that team that year.
Yes, he did. And if you recall, and I'm sure you do, because you're in a walking encyclopedia, but we won something like 18 out of our last 20 or 21 games or something like that. We actually didn't get in the playoffs until that Labor Day Monday. We finished the year in Kannapolis. And
that was a big Sunday win.
We beat them and got into playoffs. And, we went down to Savannah for the championship, and we were down. Never forget this. We were down 2-1. It was in the top of the 9th inning. We were down, and Noah Perry, speaking of him, was at bat, and he had 2 strikes against him. And our league president and the general manager of the Savannah team started picking up the table that had all the awards on it. They were getting ready to take it out on the field. And we got a base hit, tied it up, ended up winning the game, coming back, winning Game 5, and I'll never forget that because I got a good chuckle out of that.
And the big thing about it is people now begin to realize maybe more now than they did back in the 80s when they were winning the titles and they had guys like Don Madley and Otis Nixon and all the guys that played at the old stadium back in those days. It seemed like it was more titles, but that's one title in almost like forever.
Yeah, we went, I think the last championship we had was 1982. We went 29 years until we got the next one in 2011. And, David Berg was our manager here in 2012 and 2014, and he had 2 incredible teams. The 2014 team won, I think, 87 or 88 regular season games, but he couldn't get another championship. Championships, as you know, in every sport are very hard, and it takes a lot of talent, but also a lot of luck too. So.
What was it like? You look up on that video scoreboard last night. You see Jack McKee and you see Brandon Hyde. You see all those people you've known, Tim Cousins, and all these people up there with those the recognition for you, talking about what you did, and seeing those people again just in that way. That's got to be interesting too. Just kind of look up and see what they're saying, listen to what they're saying.
Well, it was neat and very, very touching. But I've been fortunate that in this position, you meet a lot of people, you have a lot of relationships, you make a lot of friends, and I've always tried to go out of my way with our team, visiting teams, umpires, treat them treat them well and make a lot of friends. And you know, friends you can't ever have too many friends, that's for sure.
Yeah, always going to have the backup going on. And you look up on that, and again, Brandon Hyde, who managed here, he was actually did most of the work back in 2004 because Steve Phillips stayed at home most of that year when his wife had the baby, and he wasn't around much. And so Brandon got the experience that year. Then he came here, and he did a very good job while he was here and just kept moving up in the ranks.
He did. You know, he came here to us in the middle of 2003. They replaced their hitting coach in the middle of the season and brought Brandon in. And then, as you just said, he was here in 04. We were in the old stadium then. And then he was our manager here in 05 and 06. He's probably as long a tenured coach / manager we've had here ever. And a great guy. I went to his wedding many years ago when he got married down in Palm Beach, and I saw him this year at spring training, and he's done a great job there in Baltimore. And you know, talking about championships, I mean, they might be tough to beat. So
and to do what he's done with that team, to turn that around with Baltimore, they were really struggling, and everybody probably thought he'll get a chance to make them a little bit better than he'll get rid of him. But now he's locked in; they're playing so well.
They really are, and I'm pulling for him because. We've seen a lot of their guys.
Sure have, coming in for the visiting teams. Good effort in right field there by the Hoppers. Let's talk about somebody else here because these things keep popping up in my head right now, so keep you around and talk about these. Going back to that one year, we had 5 first-round draft picks on the pitching staff. Chris Volstead, Sean West, Ryan Tucker, Aaron Thompson, and Brent Sinkbill. I mean, nobody had anything like that before, and it was a good draw for the gate. They didn't really have the success you would want, but again, who cares now? You just talk about how you had them that time.
Well, you know, you're right, and it's the draft every year. It's always interesting to see, you know, what teams draft, and I think I've learned, and I'm not by no means a baseball talent expert, but
fly ball right field, and the miss, and another runs in. 3-0 right now. The Crawdads lead. Good effort in right field by the Hoppers trying to get something done. There was Hudson Head. But back to what you were saying about all that talent, too.
Yeah, you know, I think what you learn over the years is high school pitchers and high school catchers can be relatively risky draft picks. They might have a lot of upside, but they may also, in the case you just mentioned, I think a few of those guys made it to the big leagues. I guess Chris Volstead probably was there
Chris was up and down
anyone.
so much. It was kind of fun. Just you'd see some team. He'd be with the Charlotte Knights one year, been trying to get back up all the time, and you know, it just happened to go that way for him. He probably had the most success, like you said. Other guys just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it was hard because actually Sinkbell was a college player. The rest of them, if I'm not mistaken, were all high schoolers, all 18-year-olds, and a couple of left-handers there.
And they were some kind of characters too. I remember interviewing those guys because Sean West is probably the craziest one of all, and Volstead very serious, and Ryan Tucker, he was just kind of a California guy, just passing through. And Aaron Thompson was from a very strict family, very nice family, but very business-like family. Yep. Just knowing all those kids back in those days, it was really something.
Yeah, it's. They were. That's a memory there.
What about one more? You just mentioned catchers. But to my mind, the name that came through because you talked about how sometimes you draft those pitchers and catchers with some ideas about what they might do for you. What about Kyle Skipworth? Remember Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle Skipworth. I remember was here, and I know he was here in 2009 for sure. But I feel like he was also here parts of at least one, maybe 2 other years. And you know, he was, I think, the 5th or 6th pick in the draft the year he was selected, and. He was touted as the next Joe Mauer. Man, you remember Joe Mauer from the Twins?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're right about that. Yeah,
and he's big, tall, 6'4" catcher, left-handed hitter, and a great young man. But yeah.
Boy, look at this though. All those guys that came through here, you could stop and say right now, where are they now? They're all doing a lot of different things. And moved to third base by the Crawdads, advancing, leading 3-0. We're in the top of the first, and been a tough start today for Derek Diamond on the hill for the Grasshoppers, former Bradenton Marauder. But going back, all those guys are different places. Look at yourself though, 22 years, same job. How about that? Huh?
Yeah, 22 years is a long time to do anything. I look at the rosters all the time, the visiting teams, because I'm always curious whether there's any young men coming in here if they, might have grown up in the area or what have you. But you start looking at these birth years, and guys born and after I started in the game, and it's gosh, it doesn't seem that long ago. But anyway, it's been wonderful. It's been a great run. It's going to be a good play here. Good play by the shortstop.
Nice play at the plate. Yep. And another thing interesting, too, go back to the big, tall guy we had at third base, because this guy stands up, Matt Dominguez. Remember, Matt came through. He was about 6'6" and just a huge, tall third baseman. And guys like he and Skipworth that had a lot of promise projected for them. They didn't quite reach it, but you still remember those guys.
Yeah, Matt played in the big leagues for several years as well. I think he ended up mainly with Houston, I believe. But he was the first pick from that, I believe it was the 2007 draft, I think, and Giancarlo was the second pick for the Marlins. So they got it right with both of them, but specifically Giancarlo. He was, he came in here about 6'5" and about 240, and he turned down an opportunity to go to Southern Cal and play football, I believe, but he turned out to be quite a player. He just had trouble staying healthy.
Another guy was interesting, too, who played at first base back in that day. You had Van Houten, and you had Gabby Sanchez. Gabby Sanchez was one of the nicest guys I think I met coming through here. He was just a great guy. He ended up with the Pirates later on one time, too.
Yes, he did. And Gabby, of course, went to the University of Miami and came here. I think originally he was drafted as a second baseman, but he was a big guy. And he was a good player, very good player. It seemed like he was here maybe half a year and got called up. And actually nowadays I see him on the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Man, big base hit there on the left side. Was he with the ACC baseball broadcast?
He's on the tournament games for sure. And that kind of brings back memories. Yeah, I remember his mom and dad used to come up here all the time, see his games. Apparently, Andy, I'm bringing you bad luck today here. We're down 4-0.
Well, the thing about that is, conversely, it is a kind of a game where Hickory's taking over and running with. So we got plenty of time to talk about things we can talk about because the game's kind of getting away already. It's already moving on down the road.
You're right. Yeah, but you sure hate to get out the blocks like
especially
this.
When you end up the series tied 3-3. It's right now 2 wins, 3 losses. But, back on some of those guys, you mentioned the athletes. That J.T. Remuto was a quarterback in Oklahoma, in his state at Oklahoma when he was in high school. And then he was going to be a shortstop, I think, but became a catcher. And just turned out to have a great career.
The Marlins director of scouting, for a long-time director of scouting, Stan Meek, was from Oklahoma, and Jim Fleming, the former player development director, was from Oklahoma, and they drafted a lot of kids from that area. But JT was very special. He was a shortstop in high school, but they saw his future as being a catcher, and we all know, even to this day, he's probably one of the, if not the best, he's one of the top 2 or 3 catchers in the game.
It's amazing, too, because he just had a kid from High Point Wesleyan go up with the Phillies, Weston Wilson, who's there with them now, and he joined them, had a home run his first at bat there with the Phillies, so a lot of Philly connections going on there. We're going to take a break here. We've got 4 runs on 3 hits right now, 4-0 lead for the Crawdads. And we want to keep Donna Moore here, talk about a few more things. We'll take that break between innings. Again, 4-0 the Dads of the Hoppers. Hoppers Baseball from Remax Revolution. Remax Revolution, Hoppers Baseball on GSOHoppers.com. Back at First National Bank Field on this Sunday evening. Hoppers Baseball. Donna Moore is kind enough to join us this evening, and he's closing out part of his career. He'll still be around as a President Emeritus. I know some of the TV people I heard working on that term Emeritus, they found that a little bit tough to get completely out. But again, what would that actually compose of when you're here next year? You'll be the President Emeritus. Will you be doing some sales work still and some part-time help in the office?
I've been so lucky. I've built a lot of wonderful friendships and partnerships with companies, in this area, and I'm going to continue to serve as a grasshopper representative to them and try to maintain those relationships. But I'm not going to have an office here. I'm not going to physically be here.
So do it all over your home then.
That's right.
It's kind of like not completely the same, but similar in some ways. Yours is a lot more involved. But back in the day, I remember when Rosalie Brewer dropped out, she decided to help out a little bit still when she had stepped down for her capacities here.
That's right. And matter of fact, I think Jack is here tonight.
Wow, he's still going strong. That's good
Jack,
to hear.
yeah, but he's supposed to be here tonight, and I look forward to seeing him.
We'll talk about that, too, because it kind of leads into another point of conversation as the Hoppers have Tamara Johnson that find second baseman at the plate to start things off tonight. But back when you were in the business world, you were down at Uwharrie Point, I think, in that area doing golf sales, and that wasn't going all that great. But then you come to Greensboro, and you get that Pizza Hut job as the Greensboro Sports Council leader of the Pizza Hut tournament. Made a lot of good contacts and got that. You saved the tournament back about 98, that time frame. Got it going great, and that kind of seemed like, to me, kind of catapulted you to what you're doing with baseball.
Well, it did. I was part of the Greensboro Sports Council, volunteer group here in town, and it was a volunteer thing, and I chaired that basketball tournament for 5 years. from 99 through 2003.
And that was back in the day. Usually a guy would do it 1 year instead of, man, I got this finished, I got it done, I had success. You did it 5 years.
That's right. Tamar pops up here to the infield, first baseman. Tamar Johnson is really an impressive young man.
Fun to watch, isn't he?
He's got all kinds of talent, but most importantly, he's just a quality young guy. I've been very impressed with him as a person.
Yeah, I know he's a great player. I was talking to downstairs today with Robbie Hammock about him. I said, boy, he's got a great swipe tag at second. Robbie said it's too good. Sometimes it's so good the umpires can't catch it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of upside to him, and I hope he does well, and I'm sure he will do well. He's only 19, so. Yep. So he's, I think the average age in this league is 23, 24. In some cases, there's older guys. So he's going to be fine. He's a great kid.
How about the catch with this kid Luke Brown in center field last night?
Yeah, that was something, wasn't it?
I've watched that about 10 times today at least.
Yeah, this team is really, I think what I've noticed over the years is an awful lot of the vast majority of these players, visiting team, home team, whatever, are just good kids. They work hard, they're talented, but they got their heads on straight, and they're polite, and they're fun to be around. It's fun to watch them, and move up and do well.
I was saying about memories about the team. I told little Donald this last night. So I'm upstairs last night. I said, memories I remember about you a lot go with the kids because you did such a good job of raising little Donald, I always call him little Donald, little Allison. But I remember little Donald one night over at Page High School. You were there for the game out night, the basketball game, and Page had just been declared that they'd had to forfeit about 8 or 9 games, and that was just pretty much killed their chances for any playoffs and things like that. And I told little Donald, remember, he was crying that night. I know you were not happy that night, but just to see him crying like this, he took that very seriously. He played at UNCG college basketball. He was the kicker for Grimsby when they won that game, or kicker against Grimsby when they won a game for Page that year. I told him about that field goal. He had to kick it twice, and he won the game 10-7. But he was just so much like you in those ways when he was playing those games.
Well, he was we're both fierce competitors, and he was a terribly fierce competitor, and he hated to lose. But the rest of that story, when they had to forfeit those games because they had a kid on the roster that never played, that either didn't live in the district or something, I don't know what it was, but they went on and won the conference tournament and qualified for the state playoffs, which was quite an achievement because East Forsyth then had Ricky Hickman, and Mount Tabor had a good team, and but yeah, they buckled up their boots and went to that conference tournament and won it, and got in the state playoffs anyway.
Got to be happy about the job he did when he was in high school at Page, belonged to UNCG, and he and the coach Greg Vlasny, I think they were teammates back at UNCG. I never knew Vlasny was even there, but I remember Donald being there. I remember both of them now.
Yeah, you're right. He was there at the same time Donald was, but Donald's done great. Allison,
Allison, thing I remember was about her always on the 4th of July, America the Beautiful. And she sang it last night. I said, I was saying before she came out, I said, she doesn't do that. It's going to be almost like it didn't have the right parts this night. Yeah. When she did that, it kind of made everything fit.
And they surprised me with that. She's lived in Switzerland now for 6 years.
Good Lord.
She flew home Friday, and unfortunately is leaving tomorrow. But
wow, good to see her a few days anyway.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen her in about a year.
Living in Switzerland.
Yeah, she and her husband both work for Google and live in right outside of Zurich, Switzerland, and they love it. And
that's a far cry because she was in Nashville for several years.
She was. Yeah. But she's Allison, she's a great kid. I'm prejudiced, obviously. She's my daughter, but she's a bit of a free spirit, and they decided they wanted to explore and move over there, and they absolutely love it. So
when we first got to know her, was with the Pizza Hut basketball tournament. She would sing the national anthem, and then kind of came over here with the Grasshoppers doing work. I remember one year she actually ran the press box here upstairs.
She did.
She was in charge of the press box.
She worked for me here for, I think it was 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
2006 through 2000. I think it was 2006 through 2009 or something like that. It's. I looked the other day. I've had 81 employees here over the years, which sounds like a lot, but in reality,
you think about all the time you've been here, that's not that many.
Yeah, and a lot of long tenured people, a lot of people that have come here and done a wonderful job and stayed here, which this isn't a career job for most people. It's I don't know what the average,
especially a younger person, because they're looking to move on. If they're going to stay in sports, move up the ladder, move up to a higher level.
Right. But it's
now, who's been with you? Was Tim with you at the old stadium at all?
Tim started as an intern in fall of 2002, and he's been with me a long time. And of course, he's going to become the general manager. And Tim is very talented. He's very smart. He's a very hard worker, and he's going to be fine. But I told him today, I said, he said, you've taught me a lot. And I said, well, I'm not through teaching you, so I'm gonna keep on teaching you, and look forward to that.
Talk about mentoring and also shadowing. You'll kind of shadow him probably here next year. Kind of shadow him while he's keeping an eye on things and getting things going. He'll have you around to help him out.
Well, I hope so, and never been in this position, so I don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but I think it'll be fine. And they were kind enough, the ownership group that we sold to year before last, kind enough to say, hey, we want you around and do what you can to help us, and we also will look to you for advice and so on and so forth. So.
Jake Holloway being here. When I saw Jake, I said, Jake, he had the glasses, got the facial hair, now a little bit bigger guy. I said, boy, who are you? And he told me, Jake, he's back.
Yeah, he was. A lot of people came back last night, which was very, very touching and very flattering, and had a great time catching up. We had some good laughs about some things. And
one thing more before we lose you here before too long, I told them last night, people I'm talking about, when you were on the field in the early part of the game, I was doing a little bit of narration of your presentations, and I had one moment I had to bring up. There's a big shot toward left field, base hit there for Brendan Dixon, who's a scrappy player. It's also going to move Luke Brown to second base, Dixon at first base, is a single to left, line that way. But one of my memories going back, might have been the biggest crowd in the history of the stadium, would be North Carolina versus NC State Saturday evening. I told them last night, they had people in the grandstand 5 deep down there lined up trying to see the game. That night, it was just one classic Saturday evening between State and Carolina, the ACC baseball tournament back in that day.
Yeah, that was 2012. I'll never forget it. Saturday night, like you said, Carlos Rodon was pitching for State. And I don't recall who was pitching for Carolina, but to the best of my recollection, it was a 0-0 game through 9 innings. And the neat thing about college baseball that I learned through having the ACC tournament several times was, you got half the people there rooting for one team and half rooting for the other, whereas in minor league baseball, as a rule, everybody that's there is rooting for the home team. And it was really, every pitch was, was getting cheers and all that. It was quite unusual compared to pro ball for crowds to be that active in the game.
Interesting wild pitch here. Going to move guys up. Second and third. Now Hoppers are down 4-0 right now to the Hickory Crawdads. And remember, NC State won that game at Saturday, but they went to the game on Sunday against Florida State. Could not beat the Seminoles. The Seminoles won the title. They had Jameis Winston in the bullpen warming up all the time, throwing that towel around down there.
Well, actually, Andy, unless I'm wrong, I think Florida State beat State in 2010.
Was it?
In 2012. Georgia Tech won 2012 and 2014. One year they beat Miami, and one year they beat Maryland. It was Maryland's last year in the in the league.
Right.
In 2014, we never.
Going to be a foul ball down the right side. It would have been nice if that ball was fair off the bat of Hudson Head.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get a couple of runs here and sort of feel like we're right back in it. But it was. College baseball tournament was fun. It would beat you to death though, because it was a lot of games in a short period of time, and you
kind of get that feeling the ACC moves on to another town. You kind of act like they don't want to be at your place anymore. You kind of get that feeling, well, if you don't want to be here, we'll just do what we're doing. You guys go where you want to.
That's right. The tournament was very profitable here. It was very successful here. I've told them they don't want to hear it, but that's fine. But I've told them, you aren't the SEC. You don't need to be in a 10,000 seat stadium. Our stadium is a perfect size for it, and we delivered for them. And but they want to be somewhere else, so that's fine.
Yeah, and that same thing with the headquarters, I would think, too. You want to go to Charlotte, maybe get lost in them and the shuffle them and the Panthers and the Hornets and the new soccer team and all the other stuff, maybe the new baseball team in the future. You're going to get lost down there, too. So if that's what they want to do, I guess go ahead and see what the bad part of that is, the hospitality they got while they were here.
Yeah.
I mean, man, Mayor Nancy Vaughn, she almost said, I'm going to give you my left arm. Okay, you want my right arm, too, to keep you here.
Yeah, it's, it was sad for Greensboro, but at the same time, you look at the whole college sports landscape now, and in my opinion, it's a disaster. It's
I'm not a big fan of ACC football with Stanford and who else? SMU and California.
Yeah.
California Bears. I mean, a California Bears basketball game against Stanford or against whoever. It's going to be SMU versus Cal in basketball ACC Tuesday night. I mean, not really on that too heavy.
Let's see if we can get in a round or two here.
It'll be a long one going toward left field and not enough on it. Cimello flies out, and Hoppers leave 3 on base. Stay with us a little bit longer. Can you stay a half inning?
I need to run, Andy. I gotta get to work.
Before we leave real quick, give me your impressions of Jace Bowen this season.
Jace Bowen has been incredible, and there again, he's a quality guy. I really enjoy getting to know him, watching him. I believe he's 4th now all-time on our individual season RBI totals. I think what's he have, 88, 89?
88
something?
right now, yeah.
Okay. And Brad McCann, 2005, had 106, and John Carlo had 97, I believe it was, in 2007. Or was that 2008?
2008, yeah.
And so he's knocking on the door of maybe getting in 3rd place, and had a great year. He's had a wonderful year.
Well, if you have a Greensboro Grasshoppers Hall of Fame, you're the first man in.
Thank you.
Good to have you on board.
All right, Andy,
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for what you do.